Call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Rankin,
Here.
Vice Mayor Walter. Here. Councilmember Woolridge. Here. Councilmember Hawkins.
Here.
Councilmember Montano.
Here.
Councilmember Gleen. Here. Councilmember Anderson.
Ladies and gentlemen, a moment of silence, please, as we all stand, and then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. During your moment of silence, think of all those that are sick, can't be with us tonight. Think of our young men and ladies overseas fighting. Try to keep us in your thoughts, too. Thank you. Valerie, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. This will be the first call to the public for comment on within the jurisdiction of the Town Council. Council rules limit public comment to 3 minutes. Individual council members may respond to criticism made by those commenting, may ask staff to review a matter raised, or may ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. However, members of the council shall not discuss or take action on any matter during an open call to the public unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. This time we'll start with Kathy Adams.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, my name is Kathy Adam. I live at 240 East Ruggles in Florence, and I came just to thank you for your support for the home tour we had last week. I think we had an abundance of financial support. We really appreciate that. But above and beyond that, I know I saw several of you at the home tour, and I can't tell you what that does for the town to see you out and about and supporting us. I want to especially thank our Parks and Rec department. Brian Hughes' department was unbelievable in doing above and beyond, and I have to say, this is all volunteers. We all have our lives. We're busy, but it was an absolute pleasure, and you will hear that from everybody that worked on this, really because of his leadership, and I'd like to call out John Nixon and Allison Felice as well. I'd also like to just mention Mark Eckhoff's department. We had, as always, Heath Reed is tremendous in helping us with the homes that we display, and Gilbert is always very helpful to us as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kathy. Makes the council feel good when we hear good comments like that. Jim Cox.
Mayor Rankin, Council, I'd like to echo what Kathy said about the home tour. It was fantastic. I was here. One of my houses was on there. Got a lot of support from everyone on staff and everyone that put that on. It was pretty fantastic. I am actually up to talk about the Kuhn building. It is, I guess I should tell my name here, Jim Cox, 244 South Willow Street here in downtown Florence. On the agenda tonight, under new business, item D is a discussion to approve the demolition of the Kuhn building. I believe the building is historically significant. It's well worth saving, and after reading through some of the engineering reports, I think the amount of work needed is probably overstated. I'll base that on a bunch of old historic buildings I am working on and have worked on here in the town over the years. I studied the town auction. It was up for auction twice that I know of. Went through it, talked back and forth with the town manager and other town people. The Florence Heritage Foundation, Beth Beatty and myself did. We couldn't find a way to really participate in that auction that would make any financial sense and make it a viable project. I'm sad to say. The Florence Heritage Foundation is willing to take on that project. We gave it a great deal of consideration as a last-ditch effort today, and the only way I could think to put anything like this together. I'd like you guys to consider, as part of your discussion on the demolition, an offer to purchase that building. We've got a cashier's check for $1,000, and then some of the conditions that you guys had. All my board members signed that. If you guys would at least consider it, I think that would be fantastic. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Ruth Harrison.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Ruth Harrison, Florence, Arizona. At the last meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission, one of the topics on the agenda was the signage for the new library building. There was a lot of discussion among the 4 commissioners present and the 2 staff members in attendance about the proposed lighting for the signs. Staff told the commissioners that any illumination would come from the lights in the parking lot. One commissioner questioned the advisability of not planning in advance for signs to specifically illuminate each sign, for lights to specifically illuminate each sign. Staff told the commissioners that any future changes or additions to the lighting plans would not result in additional cost. The commission approved the sign plan by a vote of 3-1. Unfortunately, no one raised the issue of the design of the signs until I brought up the topic at the call to the public at the conclusion of the meeting. The plan is to install vertical signs. Just think of bold capital letters on a horizontal sign lifted to a vertical position without changing the lettering. In order to read the sign, people have to turn their heads sideways. So I'm asking the council to put the topic of redesigning the signs on the agenda for the next council meeting. The signs need to be able to be read easily. I have a few suggestions to help get things started, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Bonnie Barriola.
Mayor and council members, I'm Bonnie Barriola from Chandler, Arizona. In 1988, having just graduated from ASU, I became Florence's first community development director. In about 1990, I toured the Quinn building. Art Salaya told me gave me the correct pronunciation, the Quinn building, he informed me. When then town manager Kim Buchanan and the telephone company representatives, for the purpose of negotiating with them to turn the building over to the town so it could be rehabilitated, these talks proved unsuccessful. Subsequent attempts to restore the building were also unsuccessful. After ownership changed a couple of times from 2002 to 2005, at one time the Florence Preservation Foundation sponsored a successful Heritage Fund grant. I'm the secretary and grants writer for the FPF, so I was involved in that process, which would have contributed $93,750 for that owner to use toward its rehabilitation. Unfortunately, this did not happen because the owner said due to the downturn in the economy in the mid-2008, he could no longer contribute his portion toward rehabilitation. But at that time, he refused to turn the building over to the town so they could take advantage of the grant funds and rehabilitate the building, although construction documents had been completed and approved by SHPO. Unfortunately, the legislature canceled all Heritage Fund grants in late 2009, which included the balance of the $93,000. When the construction documents for the Quinn building were prepared in 2006, the building was in extremely poor condition. The only part of the building that was in relatively good condition was the skylight. Although the exterior has looked as though the building were secure, it is surprising the building remains standing today. Current town staff and council were not involved in these decisions, but unfortunately are now faced with making a decision pertaining to the Quinn building. After your last auction request, I contacted an attorney whose office is located in Scottsdale. who was very interested in the building, and we exchanged several emails. But she would like to have had it for a satellite law office in Florence. She was so interested to the extent I got an estimate from Concord Construction, but the final costs were comparable to the ones you received from Swan Architects, and my contact said that $200,000 was too much for her to spend. Throughout the years, beginning in 1990, working with the town, FPF, SHPO, and property owners, we have been able to save many historic buildings in Florence, a few being the Chapel of the Gila, the Clark House, Old Main at Florence High School, and the Silver King Hotel. But it took all of us working together to accomplish this. After 25-plus years of neglect by prior owners, I agree with staff's recommendation that the only solution at this time is to demolish the Quinn building. And I have to admit, when I wrote that last line, I teared up because we had been working on it for so long. But at this point in time, it has just been, it's unfortunate that it was neglected, but we could never get all the parties involved at the same time. Even when we had that funding, the town manager at that time was willing to take it over with the grant funds and match that, but as I said, at that time, the owner would not turn it over to the town at that time. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Bonnie. Are there any other members of the audience who would like to speak? Hearing none, I call close to the public. Lisa.
Sorry. Item 6, presentations by the Chamber of Commerce. Tonight, the Chamber of Commerce has contacted the Town of Florence and asked for this item to be postponed to the March meeting, so we're going to go ahead and add this item to the meeting in March. We'll move on to consent agenda. Item 7, consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda will be handled by a single vote as part of the consent agenda unless a council member or a member of the public objects at the time the agenda item is called. Item A, recommendation of approval to the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control on the Greater Florence Chamber of Commerce's application for a special event liquor license for their First Thursday Mixer on March 5, 2015. Item B, recommendation of approval to the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control on the Santan United Sports Academy's application for a special event liquor license for their Spring Festival community event on March 14th. And I will note for the record that the applicant was contacted and 25% of the income does go to Santan United Sports League. The 75% does go to the Anthem community that is putting on the event. Item C, recommendation of approval of the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control on Cocopelli Moon Saloon's application for a temporary extension of premises patio permit. Item D, recommendation of approval on the purchase of SCBA communication systems from L&N Curtis & Sons in the amount not to exceed $34,993. Item E, approval of the January 5th, January 20th, and January 26th Town Council minutes. Item F, to receive and file the following Board and Commission minutes: the November 9th, 2015 Historic District Advisory Commission minutes, the October 15th, 2014 Parks and Recreation Advisory Board minutes, and the December 18th, 2014 Planning and Zoning Commission minutes. Mayor, member of council, that is your consent agenda for this evening.
Does any member of the council have anything they'd like taken off the consent agenda? Does any member of the public have anything they'd like taken off the consent agenda? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the consent agenda. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Item 8, new business. Item 8A, discussion, approval, disapproval of resolution number 1497-15, a resolution of the Town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, approving of a waiver of fees for the Florence Apartments Association Associates LLC. Mr. Knutson will handle this item.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to present item 8A to you this evening. The Town of Florence was approached by Florence Apartments Associates as they are asking for the town's assistance in their application to the Arizona Department of Housing. They're applying for a tax credit application that would assist them with the acquisition and substantial rehabilitation of 3 apartment complexes in Florence. All 3 are in the core. 2 are on Florence Heights Drive, and 1 is over on right off of Butte Avenue. On the screen, you do see some pictures of the facilities. There on the screen is the one by the Whittlefield Manor, which is just off Butte Street, or on the west side of the Circle K, located just off Main Street. You're looking at Florence Heights Apartments, Western Sunrise Villas, and Whittlefield Manor. As part of the application to the Arizona Department of Housing, there are certain points that are required per the application. One of the areas requirements is for the city or town where the project is located to have buy-in, financial buy-in with regards to the project. In other cities and towns, that can come from direct financial contributions, grants, or in Florence's case, the waiving of certain fees that are tied to the project. In your agenda packet, we've identified $80,000 worth of potential fees that could be waived as part of this project, and that equals the 2% of the construction costs as the Arizona Department of Housing requires. You're looking at plan review fees in the amount of $10,000, building permit fees in the amount of $16,000, and impact fees in the amount of $64,000. The impact fees are tied to the upgrade in 5 water meters as part of the construction. It is important to understand that if their grant application is not successful, then the town is not tied to any financial contribution or any fee waivers as part of any future actions by the requesting applicant. If successful and the project does move forward, you're looking at direct hard construction costs to the tune of $3.9 million, and which is a pretty substantial project throughout the 3 apartment complexes. Some of the benefits that are touted by the requester, you're looking at Department of Housing application and grant funds. So to receive these grant funds, the dollars are tied to certain requirements, and some of those requirements are associated with obviously affordable housing. These are below market rental rates that are paid by the tenants. But there's also a quality of life component that's tied to the dollars that are issued by the Department of Housing. And some of these quality of life services that must be provided by the property owner include transit services, school education support, computer and job training, preventive health services, and other services tied to providing skills and employment opportunities, or means of finding employment within the community and within the area. These 3 apartment complexes were constructed about 25 to 30 years ago. Some of the rehabilitation efforts that they're looking at doing, if successful with the grant application with DOH, is converting 10 2-bedroom units to 1-bedroom units, converting 18 2-bedroom units into 3-bedroom units, and creating 2 units that are fully handicap accessible as 2-bedroom units. This will increase the amount of tenants and available space for the tenants in those locations. In addition, you're looking at the construction of community space that would house classroom, computer room, and an area for parties, group functions, as well as a full kitchen. If approved by the Town Council this evening, and contingent upon the grant application from the Department of Housing, the town would waive $80,000 worth of fees. It is important to understand as well too. This is because of the volume and the construction tied to these apartments, the town would basically recoup about 3 times that amount in the first year when you're looking at rental taxes, TPT rental taxes, and construction sales tax that are tied to this. So it is one way of looking at this is as an investment, providing services to our residents as well as the ability for the town to recoup some of the costs that are tied to these fee waivers. With that, David Cortez, who represents Florence Apartments Associates, is in the audience and would like to say a few words about his project, if it's okay with the council.
Sure.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Pleasure to be here this evening. I'm David J. Cordes, MD, and I'm from Aurora, Colorado. In the past, since our very first project in Wickenburg, Arizona, in 1981, I've done 22 of these projects in Arizona and 85 all told. 22 of them have been substantial rehabs like we're proposing tonight. Mr. Knutson, I think, stole my thunder. I was going to explain to you all the things that we're doing, but he covered most of them. This is a low-income housing tax credit application is the most competitive application in the state of Arizona. For every $1 available, there are $5 to $7 requested. There can be as many as 50 applicants, and they can range from as little as 10 to up to 14. The program is heavily weighted towards big cities because 14% of the total points available in the competition are for light rail and hourly bus service. Although you have bus service, it's not hourly, so we can't get any of those points. So if it was 100 points, we'd be starting at 86. So we won't rank number one. We'll rank, if there are 15 projects awarded, we might be 14, 15, 16, or 17. We'll be in that range. So I can't tell you that for sure this project will move forward. But what we plan is a combination of social services that have never been done before with the tax credit program, such as aftercare, training for computer literacy and providing a space for it, multiple classes such as English as the second language or job training, health and safety classes, etc. They'll all be provided to the tenants free of charge by the funding source. And the biggest improvement, since the partial owner of the complex is Marilyn Cotton, longtime your resident, is here, I think you all know that she's kept excellent care of the grounds and the general appearance of these units. But they were built a long time ago. They are, in today's standards, very energy inefficient, and that's the primary focus of what we're doing. We'll increase the energy efficiency by over 35%. So the tenants will pay less in utilities. That may be good if you're a tenant, may not be as good if you're a utility company, but that's what the emphasis of the program is all about. I'm here not to talk, so I've exceeded my talk time, but if you have some questions about this program, I think Jess did an admirable job. The contribution of the city is 10 points. Without those 10 points that you are going to be voting on this evening, this project has absolutely no chance of any success. So this is the key decision for this project that you're going to do, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Do members of the council have any questions? I have one. If we approve this and you don't get the grant from the state, do you have any other plans, secondary backup plans to do anything with the property?
Well, currently I don't own it. Our company doesn't own it. And that would be obviously up to Marilyn. If she agrees, we'll try once again. This year to last year, we increased the potential point score for this project by 5 points. We'll try and increase it next year, because if we had 5 more points, the bottom score will be 180.5. I've been at this since 1978, so I have some amount of experience, and I've been pretty accurate in predicting. This project can currently only score 177.5, but we think we might be a winner because the mega projects from Phoenix are so big in their funding requests, and they don't score necessarily that well if they aren't by a light rail station. So the bottom score will be 180.5, but there'll be a bunch of mega projects with requesting very large amounts at that. They will pass those by after they get below that limit, and we hope to sneak in at the bottom because ours is not a mega expensive project. So my comment would be is if we don't win this year, we'll go back, try and get 5 more points that we can obtain, and try again next year if Maryland will allow us to do that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
The programs that you're offering for your tenants, where will they be offered? Is there a community type?
We do not currently have a community room at the main. Florence and Western Sunrise are literally on the same piece of property. I think you mostly, if you enter one way, it's Florence Heights. If you enter the other way, it's Western Sunrise. So they're all together. We're taking one of the buildings that used to be an office laundry facility. We're enlarging it. That's why we need, that's part of the reason why we need larger water meters. And making it into a community room, which will have a laundry, because we need 2 laundries, because we're doing recycled water irrigation as part of the project. And we'll make a classroom, a computer room, and a community room for the tenants. And so that's where the services will be provided. They will be provided on-site.
Thank you, and I really appreciate you coming out tonight.
Any other discussion? I thank you very much. See what happens. Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Do you member have any, of the council have any questions of staff?
I don't. It sounds like a good project, though. I used to live in one of those units long time ago.
You know, I guess I take a look at it as it's a need for a lot of the citizens in the community that Maryland has been providing for many, many years, and if we can upgrade that for them, I like the idea of being able to educate not only people my age, but younger kids that live over there in computer literacy. I think that's something that's very admirable about the project. And with that, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 1497-15, which is a resolution of the Town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, approving a waiver of fees for Florence Apartments Associates, LLC.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 1497-15. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Item 8B, discussion approval, disapproval to approve the Town of Florence 2015 General Plan Amendment application and hearing schedule. Mr. Eckhoff?
Mayor and Council, this is generally a bookkeeping item that we go through every year. The main point of this is to have an application and an application schedule process for major general plan amendments Minor general plan amendments can occur anytime, anytime the Planning Commission meets, the council meets. As you know from previous experience, major general plan amendments can only occur one time a year. What makes a major amendment is classified in our general plan, but it is something that has a significant impact on the change to the general plan, whether it be textual changes or land use map changes. So what this does is merely set the date for the submittal of major general plan amendments, should we get any, as May 4th, 2015 this year. And again, we would have two Planning and Zoning Commission meetings. One would be here and one would be up in the Anthem community, as we've done previous years. And then we'd come back and have a council meeting on October 19th, 2015. Now, we had a couple years where we were pretty busy with our major general plan amendment cycle, and last year we didn't have any major general plan amendments. So I don't know what to expect at this point, but should one come in, this would be the application and the schedule that they would follow.
Any member of the council have any question of Mark? Does any member of the general public have any questions? Oh, excuse me, John, go ahead.
In your approval by planning and zoning, can you hear me?
Yeah, you punch your button.
How about now? Oh,
Yes.
that sounds better.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You say upon a tie vote, it'll be considered a recommendation for denial? And I guess, how can you have a tie vote at planning and zoning? I thought you had an odd number of members.
Well, this is a good question, Councilmember Anderson, members of the council. As you recall, that scenario actually did happen. There was a tie vote, and at the recommendation of the town attorney, I think a couple of years ago, modified that language in their application. So should in the rare situation that that happens, it's determined here where it would go, because there was a little bit ambiguous of what direction it would take when it came to a major general plan amendment process, at least. So now that language is clearly in the application, and if we get to that point, we know what the result is.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, need a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Town of Florence 2015 General Plan Amendment application schedule.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the Town of Florence 2015 General Plan Amendment application hearing schedule. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Item C, discussion approval, disapproval of issuing a notice of award to Garney Company, Inc. for the South Wastewater Treatment Plant Filtration System Project in an amount not to exceed $859,000, and to authorize the mayor to execute a contract document on behalf of the town. We would like to amend this slightly to say authorize the town manager to execute the contract.
Who's going to make a presentation on it?
Mr. Mitchell.
Mayor, members of council, good evening. This project was originally approved by the town in 2009 with execution of WIFA documents for a loan of approximately $1.3 million. The project consists of two components. One is a filtration system, and the other is a possible plant expansion. We only bid the filtration project, not the plant expansion. We're not asking for expanding the plant from its current 2.5 to 4 MGD. It's only for the filtration project. We opened bids for this project on the 21st of January with 8 companies submitting bids. The bids ranged from a low of $859,000 to a high of approximately $1.3 million. The lowest responsive and responsible bidder is Garney Companies. And so we're requesting this evening that the council approve the issuance of a notice to proceed to Garney Companies for the work. Rob Bryant with Waterworks Engineers is here. Should there be any technical questions on the project, with that, be happy to answer anything that council might have.
Does any member of the council have any questions? John?
No.
Okay. Hearing none, we need a motion.
Make a motion to issue a notice of award to Garney Company for the South Wastewater Treatment Plant Filtration System Project in the amount not to exceed $859,000.
I second.
Okay, now do we want to authorize myself or the town manager to execute the contract?
Town manager to execute the contract.
That was part of the motion. We have a motion and a second to issue a notice of award to Garney Companies Incorporated for the South Wastewater Treatment Plant Filtration System Project, an amount not to exceed $859,000, and authorize the town manager to execute the contract documents on behalf of the town. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item D, discussion approval, disapproval to proceed with the demolition of the Kewen building. Mayor, member of councils, at this time, we do have a bid, we have received notice of interest. It would be up to the council if they wanted to proceed at this time with this agenda item, or if they would recommend that staff go back out and resubmit it for auction again. At that time, we could allow for additional bids to come in, and we could lower that price if council so desires.
Bill?
I've heard from several people that think the $177,000 price to rehabilitate it is what has been thrown around, and I've heard from other people that think that that's a little high, that it can actually be done cheaper. I don't know that it can or it can't. I'm wondering, where did we get that figure and who did we get that figure from, the $177,000?
Mayor, members of the council, we had Swan Architects and also structural engineers access the building and review it, and then also look at the architectural drawings that were prepared to fully rehabilitate that building several years ago, and based on the condition of the building and based on those plans that was projected. There are ways to modify our expectations or the design of the building. There are ways to potentially alter some of the historical significance of the building, maybe instead of replacing the north wall with adobe blocks to frame it out. There are modifications that could be made that could lower the price. And also, if there were contractors that were local, an owner contractor that were local that could do a lot of the work themselves, probably would lower the cost. I do have one more thing to add as well, that Swan Architects and Low Mountain Contractors, a contractor for the project across the street, they have offered both services and a donation that they'd like you to be aware of. Swan Architects has offered to provide free architectural services for all the work required to stabilize the building. That would mean plan preparation, stamping architectural sets of plans, so forth, looking at any electrical, HVAC, etc. They believe also that a structural engineer services could be provided. Low Mountain has offered $15,000 in funds to contribute towards a stabilization. They have also indicated that with their contractors in town working on the project, that they believe that they should be able to get some of those services, such as the roofing materials and some stucco work, etc., done at a cost lower than if they were just bringing in folks out of town that weren't already here on a big project. So this is kind of the Hail Mary pass coming at you in the final hour here, but there are a couple of options here that have come up tonight.
Well, my feeling is maybe we ought to table it and give time to put a little plan together here, a little more concrete plan to what I'd like to see. If we can save it, if there's any way we can save it, I think it'd be a great thing, but we've got to make sure that, it's economically feasible.
Yeah, I agree with that if there's a possibility to save it, but at the same time, if we do put it out to bid and we have takers, I would like to be sure that we're going to put a time frame on getting it rehabilitated.
I think it's in the best interest of the town that it is improved and rehabilitated. I think what we got to look at, though, is to ensure that whoever purchases as a company or as an individual understand they take the liability over as well for ensuring that the building is structurally sound when they are complete. And at that, I'd like to make a motion to table this item.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any discussion? I got some.
Mayor, can I get clarification? Are you making a motion to table this item and take it out to auction for the third time?
Well, that's what we're going to talk about right now. We have a motion on the floor so we can discuss it. Who do we want to be the owners? Do we want to do it ourselves, or do we want to go out to the private sector with a bid process? Evidently, we weren't able to get any bids under the last process under the way we put it out for bid. Now, I guess, Bill, what I'm asking is, I agree with you. I've got a lot of ties to that building.
Yeah.
And I want to see it saved. But I also know that the economic of it, at the way it sets today, with 900 square feet of floor space after it's redone, at the price that we're talking about is, that's tremendous. Because I think there's only 900 square feet in that building.
Mayor,
my question is, do we want to go out to bid on it, or do we want to make this a town project?
Well, I thought they said that there was some interested parties that think they can do it for less money than the $177,000. So,
Mayor, Town Council, if I may, in conferring with Mr. Eckhoff, with Low Mountain and Swan Architects performing those services, and also the donation of those funds would be if the town did that project. It would not be there if a private party, it went out to bid and a private party purchased it.
What's that?
The donation on behalf of Low Mountain and the services for Swan Architects would only be if the town did the project, not if the town went out to bid and someone private property bought the project.
See, that's what I was coming around to is,
But we've also had a gentleman here tonight that's had an interest in making a bid on it.
And I agree with you, but that's a decision we have to make as a council on it, is which way do we want to go?
I think the issue we have more is financially is without the home rule, there isn't any funding available.
Yeah.
And so the biggest thing I see at this point right now is to put it out for auction to the lowest bidder.
Okay, then let me ask Mark a question. Do you think that there's a possibility that Swan and Low Mountain will work with the, excuse me here just a minute, Jim, I got to get to your Florence Heritage Foundation. And they are, and I guess, are you a 501c project?
Yes, sir.
Mayor, members of the council, I think that if we were to have that conversation with them and express that the importance to us is the preservation of this asset on Main Street, I know that they would take it seriously. Obviously, I can't speak for what their decision would be, but with them, with Low Mountain being able to be involved and Swan Architects being involved, it really offers a lot to the project. Swan is very familiar with the building. Low Mountain has all these resources here. So the stabilization costs could come down substantially, even if they're willing to put aside the $15,000 and just saying, we'll work with you as a partner on this project and keep our cost at a certain rate, it probably would go a ways. Then the stabilization cost, there was the almost $200,000 value that has the rehab cost, but I believe that we probably could do more of a bare bones stabilization. Just keep the building looking decent and make it safe. But functionally, it's not going to be a building that can be used for a while. But if we can stabilize it, we may be able to get that number down in the 60,000 range, give or take. So I can have that conversation with them before the next meeting if that's the direction that we get.
Now, a question to Jim. Jim, does the Florence Heritage Foundation, does it have substantial monies available to put into the project if we were able to get Low Mountain and Swan involved with you?
We're going to have to do a community fundraiser, and I think we do have support to raise those funds in a timely manner.
And what would you guesstimate the ability of your group to come up with money in how long, I guess?
I'm thinking we could raise $75,000 over the course of the next 6 months. All community, small money. That's not counting any fees the town might waive or any of the large participants that Mr. Eckhart just disclosed.
Thank you. Any other questions, Jim, on the foundation? You know, thanks, Jim. Appreciate it. Now let me go to staff. How much of a problem is it to get, if they are the only bidder on the project, how much did we have it listed for?
Yeah, we were listed it the last time for $5,000. On the last bid, it was a closed bid process, and it would have been gone to the highest bidder. So we can lower that to $1,000. We could lower it to $500. It's still the highest bidder that comes in. It's a closed bid process.
And we have stipulations on the bids.
That is correct, sir. It's under state statute.
Can we, as a town, donate that building to a 501c company?
In talking with the town attorney, we cannot. We can only do it to another governmental agency.
Can we sell it for $1? If we don't have any other bids?
Mayor, members of the council, the statute just requires that there's an invitation for bids and public notice. It doesn't mandate what amount you sell the property for. The only other potential concern is that, you know, the gift clause from the Arizona Constitution, that you're giving something away for substantially less than what you're, or for substantially, less than what you're receiving. So then it could become a gift. But I mean, in this situation, it seems unlikely that there would be a gift clause challenge. But the short answer is no, the statute doesn't mandate how much you sell it for. If it's over $500,000, which I don't think we're talking about here, it's something that has to go to the electorate for.
Well, I'd rather get $1 and get rid of the liability.
If we did an actual live auction and with no reserve, the highest bidder would win, correct?
If they meet this, and I would, go ahead, Lisa.
I just want to remind council, there was a couple of requirements that you asked to have put into that auction. So I want to remind you of what your requirements to staff was. When we went out to auctions, you wanted to have a specific date to where the certificate of occupancy would be established. You also wanted to have a specific date of when the stabilization would be established. So we included in a certain amount of period of time for the stabilization to occur, and we included in a certain amount of time for certificate of occupancy to occur. Council wanted to make sure that when we sold the building, that we would be able to go back and have the title revert back to the town of Florence if those stipulations were not met. So I just wanted to remind you, versus going with a live auction, that you did have those requirements, that you wanted to ensure that the town, if it was not completed in a certain amount of time, that the town could step in and take possession again and do whatever was necessary at that portion. So that's why the staff wrote the auction documents the way we did, was based on the way that council wanted to make sure that it didn't go to another party and just not have the certificate of occupancy issued or not have the stabilization completed. And so that's the only thing I wanted to remind you about this. And again, we would have to go back to the drawing board, work with our new attorney to make sure, if that's what council still wants, that we do have the ability to put something on the deed of sale that places us as a second, or has some kind of teeth to it, as you would say, to make sure that the town does see that that project is fulfilled.
I have a question on that. Can we ask as part of the bid process, ask the bidders to give us those parameters? Because if a large corporation comes in and bids on it, they might be able to get it done, say, in 6 months' time, but if it's a smaller company, it may take them a year or something.
I want to remind you that we've not only done this once, we've done this twice. We started out with an auction of, off the top of my head, I want to say $15,000, and then we adjusted down to $5,000. I'm not sure how many companies are going to come in to bid, but if council directs the attorney to have it done in any particular way, he's going to work with staff to make sure that we do those bid documents, the auction documents, the way that your motion is.
Okay, how long would it take you to put together an auction that's legal?
I would defer to the town attorney. I will tell you that the newspaper deadline, I can meet a newspaper deadline by this Thursday. I do not know the number of times that it has to appear. Two consecutive weeks in the weekly paper, and then a closing time of, usually we do 30 days, so we would be looking at 6 to 8 weeks.
I don't want to see us change the stipulations.
I
think we need to stick to those, because if we want it done in a timely manner, then I think we need to maintain the stipulations.
And I can't remember the stipulations, all of them. Evidently, Jim had a copy of them.
In the document that was presented to Town of Florence, I will just read it so you know what has been requested. It says, please consider this letter. And it says, Florence Heritage Foundation will pay the sum of $1,000 in a cashier check. The Town of Florence will waive all permitting fees, impact fees, water fees, sewer fees, and any other fee charged by the Town of Florence for a period of 24 months. Florence Heritage Foundation will stabilize the building within 100 days and will have the building restored for use within 24 months. The 24-month period does meet the deadlines that we sent for certificate of occupancy when he says ready for use. Stabilization within 100 days, that's very fast.
Okay. I think rather than table it, Denise
Kohlert, Florence. I have a question. What are they going to do with it after they stabilize it? Is it going to just sit there like some of the other buildings that we have stabilized in this town that are sitting and doing nothing? I don't hear them saying what they're going to do with it, other than we're going to stabilize it. It's an eyesore. It's an eyesore sitting there the way it is now. So are we going to go another year or 2 years and they're going to say, well, yeah, we got it stable, but we can't rent it to anybody to do anything with? It's a small building. What in the world? What are their intentions? I would like to know that.
That's a good question.
Jim, do you have any comment on that?
Stabilized to me is securing the building from water intrusion due to leaks in the roof, leaks in the back that are causing damage. It also means leaving the existing cement that's good and firm on the building where it's at, per the way the engineers and architects have described in their recommendations, and fixing the rest of it so it's newly restuccoed and sealed with paint, and then taking those front windows and redressing those so it looks like an open, ready-to-go business from the outside. There's still a lot of other structural work on the inside. Some of that we need to evaluate and see if it's really going to take steel beams in certain areas and pulling out of laminate beams and other things. However, the building within 100 days would no longer be damaged by water when it rains. no longer have pigeons in it and be a threat for stuff on the street, and look like a functioning business from the side. Heritage Foundation plans to have it ready, and I specifically put have it ready for use, not certificate of occupancy, because I can't control that. You guys control the certificate of occupancy. But ready, and ready to inspect for that certificate of occupancy within 24 months. And at that point, we'll put a business in it.
Okay. And it's kind of hard to guess what's going to happen in 2 years, what type of business would go in it, whether it be a lawyer, an accountant, information center for Heritage Foundation or whatever. So it'd be kind of hard to sit here tonight and tell Denise, well, we're going to put in a ice cream shop.
In my opinion, it would be a lawyer, like Bonnie Barriola said, and that building isn't ever going to rent for much. It's going to rent for $450 or $500. It's not. This isn't a return on investment deal. This is going to be a community fundraising project. That's why it doesn't necessarily have to meet normal business criteria for owning commercial properties. Some of the stuff that was written as requirements for the auction are very hard to meet, and some of the timelines and what you define as structurally secure aren't really in there, and if they were, it would be even worse, I think. Also, getting a certificate of occupancy within the timeline, which is what it says in the way it was written up. There's no guarantee that I can get a certificate of occupancy on a building that is currently occupied.
Let me ask you another question. Would your foundation be able to properly insure the building at the time that you purchase it?
It's a vacant building with no windows and doors in it, and I don't even think Lloyd's of London. I do have an insurance license. I have sold a lot of insurance around here, and I don't think it's insurable until we get windows and doors in it.
So where does the liability fall at the time that you take it over? Does it fall under?
As soon as it's in our name, the liability's on us.
Okay.
Unless, of course, you guys are on the title as seconds, and then the liability's still on you as well.
And if I understand right, we would be a second on it.
Is that how we would do it?
If it.
Mayor, members of the council, it really depends on if you have a reversionary clause. It doesn't mean you have a right. You could have a right to refusal. You could have. You don't necessarily have to have a second or a lien on the property because you're not putting any money into it. So you can transfer the property, the title, over to whomever responds to the bid.
So in other words, if we put in the document that if they don't complete it within a certain amount of time, it comes back to us, that would be a liability on the town.
Well, I can't answer that for sure, but I mean, if the title has been transferred, the liability would rest with that third party, not the town.
I understand that, but what about if we have something on the contract that says that if it's not completed within an X amount of time, that the property then reverts back to the town for failure to comply with the sale?
My initial impression would be the liability wouldn't be for the town until it actually reverted back to the town.
Okay, well, that's good. I know that. Thank you, Jim. Bonnie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for letting me approach the council again. If y'all do, in fact, decide not to go with staff's recommendation, I would recommend we have Jim Garrison come down and work with whoever y'all decide to work on the building, because I was with him when we went through the building before the prior construction documents were prepared, and he is he's an architect, but he is Adobe expert in all over the United States. So I would like him to at least advise them on that what the way they are wanting to do it is going to keep the building intact if they go spend thousands of dollars to rehabilitate it, stabilize it, and rehabilitate it, that it is going to be weatherproof so it will stay that way and not just further deteriorate again. And that was, his services are free to do that. There's no charge. Also, if they do stabilize it, the attorney I spoke with was very interested in having a satellite office in Florence, so we could approach her to ask her if she would like to lease the building or something if, in fact, they work it out. But I don't know that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Well, I think the Swan Architects and everything, if they're going to donate their time, we don't need to double. We don't need two different architect companies, do we? I mean,
Garrison is a state architect. He's a State Preservation Foundation. Is that correct, Bonnie?
right.
And he has a lot of input and say into his knowledge of everything, but
If the building is on the National Register, architects are supposed to work with the State Historic Preservation Office anyway on all projects that are on the National Register and the State Register. That building is a contributor to the district, so they would be supposed to work with SHPO anyway in any event.
and I'm sure Swan is aware of that.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
But they don't, SHPO does not go unless they're invited. So a lot of times I have to make sure that the architects work with SHPO and invite them. I know Swan knows Jim Garrison, so I would just like to see that Jim is involved in the project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have no problem with Swan myself.
Well, no, I'm just saying we don't want to get this too complicated here. You know, if you want to save the building, we need to go the direction that's most economically feasible to actually save it. But if we start getting, we get too many organizations involved, it's going to, I don't know.
If we turn it over to the Florence Charity Foundation, if they're the actual bidders, let them decide that, because then it becomes their project, not ours.
I would think once we transfer the title to someone else, it's their building, it's their responsibility.
Yeah, well, the thing we also have to remember, though, is that is in a historical district, and we do have to go somewhere along our guidelines, and I'm sure that Swan has worked with them. I don't have any problem with Garrison becoming involved with it, as long as he doesn't get out of line. But that's something for them to worry about, not us.
Right.
Now, we have a motion on the floor to table. Lisa,
Yes, sir.
if the direction that you are getting here tonight from the comments made by the council, do we need to have this motion to table fail and then go back to a motion to not go along with the not to demolish?
If that's what you would like to do, that would be fine. That
And
would
then
be
direct you at the end of the second motion with the information you received here tonight to go out for bid again. We'll call for an auction. Minimum bid $1 and then up.
Whatever you put in your motion is exactly what staff will do.
Somebody needs to start writing the motion down. I'd like to see the motion to table fail. Okay, we have a motion to table on, and we have a second.
Call a question.
Question been called for. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, same sign. Nay.
Nay.
Motion fails. Now we need a motion to go to public bid. Minimum price. You want to go $1, you want to go $1,000?
I'm not sure, well, I don't know why we won't go $1,000.
Okay, $1,000. Minimum bid $1,000, is that okay? to be, the stabilization to be completed within 100 days, to make it, the stabilization process to make it done in 100 days, to be occupied within 2 years.
I don't know if you do occupy within 2 years, but restoration completed in 2 years.
Okay, that's good.
Is it feasible to stabilize it within 100 days?
They say they can do it. And they say they can do it, and knowing Jim, he can get it done.
Okay.
Is there anything else we need to add to that bid pack or auction call? Go ahead.
Well, two of the things. The first one is, within your motion, do you want to include in there that if these items are not completed within the period of time stated, it reverts back to the town?
If they're not completed, it reverts back to the town with the, but I would give an extension on there one time of a 30-day extension. If at the end of the 100 days, if they don't have it, give them another 30 days, and then that way, they don't come back to us. Bill?
What about waiving inspection and fees and plan reviews and impact fees? How about waiving all that? That would help them, I think, quite a bit. And then maybe we could donate the $1,000 back towards it after they purchase it. I don't know. I mean, just trying to help them get it done.
I like that idea, have that part of the motion. Our attorney's looking down there now, we've got to see.
Well, if you have to collect some funds for it, I believe. Can't just give it away.
Do you want me to tell them that?
About taxpayer assets.
Well, then lower it to $5 then or something.
Okay, do you have any other, does the staff have anything they'd like to put in? Now, we need to get this done as soon as possible, so your auction is going to have to be as fast as possible. And I know you're busy, we're very busy with everything's coming up, but
I want to just clarify one thing, because I saw Jess light up with a smile when I said something, so I want to correct it. When I said that I could make the deadline for Thursday's paper, that would mean the deadline for the following week, not the deadline for this Thursday. So my goal would be to, by Friday, have this bid over to the paper, and then the following week to have it appear in the paper, to have it appear 2 consecutive weeks, and have it back to council's floor in the next 2 months. And we will bring to you all of the bids that are received with a staff recommendation to the highest bidder. That's how we do it.
Everybody understand the motion?
Well, can you read back the motion?
You are making a motion to publish a bid for $1,000 with a stabilization to be completed within 100 days and a restorative project completed within 2 years. You will allow for a 30-day waiver on the 100...
I'd like that changed to 180-day extension.
You want a 180-day extension added to the 100-day.
Added to the 2 years so that they can have a 180-day extension one time.
Okay, so let me start back up. So from the 180 days for restoration, stabilization to be within 100 days with an allowance of a 30-day extension, one-time 30-day extension, and the completion of the project, restored project, for 2 years with the allowance of a 180-day one-time extension. If this does not occur, the project will revert back to the town of Florence, and the town is going to waive all fees for the requested 2-year period.
Sound like a good motion.
I so move.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none.
Excuse me, was that a minimum bid of $1,000?
Minimum bid.
All right.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Item E. We're going to discuss item E and item F. Item E, discussion approval, disapproval of accepting Joe Cochran's resignation from the Historic District Advisory Commission. And item F, discussion approval, disapproval of appointing Joe Cochran, Georgine Duncan, and Deborah Hanson to the Arts and Culture Commission. Those terms for that commission will expire December 31st, 2016. Item E, Council Code currently allows for members to serve on 2 commissions at the same time. At our last staff meeting, it was Council's determination that we would only allow boards and commissioners to be on one council commission or board at a time. Staff is currently rewriting that policy to only have a person be able to serve on one board or commission. Ms. Cochran did express her desires to be on the Arts Commission and has submitted a resignation to the Historic District Advisory Commission. In the next item, I do need you to know that the current members as well as the council liaison of the Arts Commission did have interviews for the applicants. They did select the 3 applicants that they felt were most qualified for that position, and they have brought those forward to you with a recommendation today.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the resignation of Joe Cochran and also accept the recommendation that Joe Cochran, Georgine Duncan, and Debbie Hanson to the Arts and Culture Commission.
I'll second.
Can we do that all in one motion because we have 2 agenda items?
Two items, yeah.
I think what's that? I think we ought to be split.
He would like them to split.
Okay. I make a motion that we accept Joe Cochran's resignation from the Historic District.
Second.
We have a motion and second to accept the resignation of Joe Cochran from the Historic District Advisory Commission. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now, John.
Now make a motion to accept the appointment of Joe Cochran, Georgine Duncan, and Deborah Hanson to the Arts and Culture Commission.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Joe Cochran, Georgine Duncan, and Deborah Hanson to the Arts and Culture Commission. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Manager's report. You got anything to report? Probably got a lot, but you're not going to tell us. Call to the public. Second call to the public. Anybody have anything you'd like to discuss? You're getting more time than I am.
Jim Cox, 244 South Willow, one more time. I just wanted to say thank you all for reconsidering that demolition on the Kuhn building. It's a very important building. I think you guys did exactly the right thing. If we get the project, that's terrific. If somebody else stronger or faster or more able gets it, that's even better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Any other? Close call to the public, call to the council. John?
Well, I'd like to reiterate what's been said about the home tour. It was a great tour. I think everybody who was there enjoyed it. And I would also like for us to review the signage on the building, as has been recommended. That's all I have right now.
Okay. Ruben?
Today at the Poston Butte High School, they were having the science fair district level. And so there were several from the Florence K-8 schools, Florence High School, as well as the Anthem School that are being representative of the town of Florence that are in that competition. So I thought that was a good thing to bring up.
Okay. Becky?
No, I don't have anything.
Bill?
I have nothing.
Valerie?
I don't have anything tonight.
D. Tara?
I don't have anything tonight.
Tonight's meeting is one of the best we've had in a long time as far as open discussion amongst the council and the staff and the citizens. Maybe we should take a tape of it and send it to that senator that wants to mess with the open meeting law. Tonight's exactly why that doesn't need to be changed. A lot of you that were involved in politics back in the 60s and 70s know what went on before the open meeting law. Decisions were made in private by the boards and by the councils. And I know sometimes it appears that we may be doing this, we're not. but we all have the same idea for the best of Florence. But that law that changed the open meeting law, while a lot of us didn't like it when it happened, now we've become accustomed to it, and I believe it works for the best interest of the public to be able to hear the different ideas from the different councils and boards in public, not behind closed doors where they just come out and make a decision. The softball and baseball season gets kicked off for the high school here pretty quick. We had some wrestlers represent Florence at the state tournament, did a good job. They'll be back again next year. The home tour was a great success. The mariachi band from Eloy, if any of you got to hear it, a group of young kids down in Eloy that are putting on a show that was really well worth listening to. I like the idea of having more celebrations in town because the more things that we can get in Florence to bring people to town to expose us, the better off we are. And so with that,
Make a motion, we adjourn to executive session.
Second.
we have a motion and a second to adjourn to executive session. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We will be going to executive session. We will come out and adjourn the meeting after the executive session.